I'm at the last stage of putting in the new raspberry trellis. This is a summer fruiting raspberry trellis. We came up with a unique design, and this is going to help us to train summer fruiting raspberry canes outwards, the mature canes, and allow new ones to come up through the middle. Summer fruiting raspberries, so flora canes, these are raspberries that produce berries on second year wood. So they grow the first year, they don't do much, and then they come into their own in the second year. And that's why you have to pay attention to the canes and not chop them all down at the end of the year. And that's why the trellis is different. The H-frame trellis that the autumn fruiting raspberries are on, they really just give support because it is quite windy here. So it helps to keep the canes from flopping over and breaking. Now this one is different. So again, the summer fruiting raspberry canes, they'll grow in their first year. They'll come up here to these lines. I'll tie them in at the end of the season, and then they'll overwinter tied to these lines. It'll give them extra support. And then the next year, they will start blossoming and fruiting. And at the same time, new canes will start growing up through the middle. And these lower wires will help to keep them kind of tucked into the center. And also, because we're pulling the canes out to the side here, those new canes have room to grow up through the middle. Josh and I got the idea for these supports by looking at photos online of other summer fruiting raspberry supports. And we noticed there was one support system that had a couple of rebars in the ground at an angle on either end, and then they ran wires to the next one. And what we did was we have kind of emulated the look of that rebar design. So each of the long lengths is 1.5 meters. The little pieces in between are there for support, and they're going to be where I attach eyelet screws and connect wires. The space down here, or actually it's up here where it hits the ground. So after we dig it in, it'll be about 8 inches apart. And then up here, the distance here to here is 28 inches. And Josh cut all of these pieces here in the center at an angle. They're 10 degrees and they fit together perfectly. We've got the 5 supports buried in the soil now, good depth. And now Josh is just looking at building stabilizers for the end pieces. And that's just to stop them from bowing in. And what were you thinking, Josh?
Probably about 80 centimeters long.
About 80 centimeters long.
Maybe a bit less.
What we've done now is Josh dug a hole there, and then we kind of looked to see how deep this prop could go in. And so we're going to screw it in just below that horizontal brace there, and then backfill. Now each of the frames, they are leveled. So we used a level to make sure that it's perfectly straight, even though we're on a slope. And they're about 6 feet from the next. And they're held together through wire. Now, normally I would use a little bit thicker gauge wire, but I had this free. I found it at the house when we moved in, so I'm using this and we'll see how it goes. And I've just screwed in some eyelet screws, put the wire through, twisted it, and done. And there is line here at the top. So you can see just here at the top, there and there. And then down below, there are 2 more lines of wire.